So I guess I'll start with an introduction. Sorry for the cringe. I've never done YouTube before or anything like that. The most I've done is spoken into my phone, into Instagram for 60 seconds. But I'm sitting here hanging out in my office, and I told myself I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and so here we are. And this is going to be short and sweet, and my energy levels are a little low, so I'm chugging down this Ghost Sour Patch Kids energy drink, which is delicious. If you don't know Ghost products, not sponsored by them. Shit, I don't even know if I'm gonna have one viewer on this, but their products are wildly delicious. My name is Dylan Ignacio, and I'm from Alexandria, Virginia, and I've been a police officer for almost 8 years. And yeah, the past 2 years, with everything going on with the social justice movements and with COVID, it has unfortunately, let's just make things clear, just be open and honest, it has stripped away a lot of the purpose behind my profession. You know, with the false narratives and the false rhetoric, and I don't want to get into the politics or anything like that because I'm not here for that. But it has uncomfortably pressured me into pursuing my dream, which is to be a mental health advocate and just be there to help people, somewhat of a lifestyle coach, if you will. I don't really have a name for it or a label for it, but I just want to, out of all the trauma that I've experienced throughout my career, personal endeavors, all that, I believe that I have a lot to bring to the table and a lot that people can learn from me. And then I also have a lot still to learn, and I believe I can connect with people. And the only way I really know how to do that is by shooting this random YouTube, you know, channel, as you're on my $5 stand on top of my sneaker throne here. And I just want to be able to connect. With everything going on in the world right now, I think that one thing we can all kind of get together on is the fact that we're all going through something. And I think that if there's more people that are building a community around the awareness of the mental health issues that come with the pressures of our society, then, you know, we'll all be better off as one. And that's in any career field or any profession that you're in. But to harp on first responders and law enforcement for a second, it's crucial for us because of how much power and responsibility that we do have. And so it's very important that we take care of our own mental health, so that A, we're not only taking care of ourselves and serving ourselves, so that we're also able to better serve others and make sure that those negative ripple effects don't affect the communities that we serve. You know, so I guess give a little bit of background on myself. I'm from Northern Virginia, born and raised here. Come from, as you probably see from my last name's Ignacio. My father, who raised me since I was 6, his last name is Ignacio. He's Dominican, and then my mom is here. She's here. Yeah, no, she's here. She's from West Virginia. Boom. Hence, here's me. And my mom and my dad have both committed their entire lives to serving others. My mom in the school system, just retired. My father, a police officer, well-known detective for a very long time, retired and then is still actively serving under the sheriff's office. I came from that environment. I came from an environment of two very hard-working individuals who, during their time, spent a lot of time working to build, you know, everything that I'm blessed for today. And I guess through their hard work and their dedication to their work, there's a lot of things I ended up having to figure out on my own, especially when it came to growing up, being a man, maturing, my faith, all these different things, all these different endeavors that I've kind of pursued on my own after going down a really deep, dark path. So I guess we'll start from the go. We'll kind of get it, you know, from there. And I hope this isn't too cringy, but I have no idea what I'm doing. I just promised myself I was going to hit record and then we were going to get going. So I I grew up middle class in a inner city area, and when I was growing up, I guess like I got bullied. I got bullied a lot. I was kind of that kid that cried in the corner a lot. You know, and then because of that, I would act up in school, and because I would act up in school, I'd get in trouble at home, and it became just this endless cycle. And I'm kind of bringing you back to this because it took a lot of like reflection in my older years to figure out why I might have some of the issues that I have had to deal with. And that was definitely a part of it. So I'm definitely a big, you know, advocate and ally of those who have suffered from bullying and anything like that. So if you come across this video, trust me, it does get better. I'm not sure about the age group of people who are going to be watching my videos. And then I wasn't the best student ever. I was definitely the comedian because I thought that my jokes were the only way that I'd be liked. And so wildly inappropriate jokes, I kind of, at the time I thought it was a curse. The fact that I had a bunch of different friends, but I wasn't really attached to one solid group of people, and that always bothered me. But growing up, I found out that that paid dividends. So also, if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily fit in with anybody, but you have friends in different areas, you know, and different respective, I guess, cliques or whatever, that will pay dividends. It gives you a more vibrant and diverse atmosphere of friends. And backgrounds and insights on different lives and different cultures. Anyways, lost my train of thought. I guess to dive right into it is my transition into becoming a police officer was not the norm. I got out of high school, a mediocre student, went to West Virginia University, and essentially partied instead of going to school because I didn't even want to go to school in the first place because I had no confidence in myself to be a good student anyway. So I had no business going to college at that age, or at least that big of a university. And I screwed off. I screwed off the first full year, wasn't really going to classes, wasn't really trying, coming up with a million excuses for my behavior, and really it all came down to a lack of confidence in myself to perform, and also came down to, you know, choosing what was easier. It was definitely easier to go party and do whatever than it was to attend class and try to learn something new. But I knew that after I'd gotten, involved in some things that I shouldn't have gotten involved in, which I'll save for a later video, I knew I needed to come back home. So I ended up coming back home, moved back into my house with my parents, which was wildly uncomfortable. And mainly because my mom's from a small town, so she's more of like, once you go to college, you kind of go do your own thing, and then, you know, we'll always support you, but, you know, you're on your way to be an adult and get your own place. Now, my father, who raised me, being Hispanic, you know, his culture values are a little bit different. You know, he's like, you can stay as long as you want, but I'll get into that. So I started working for a government contractor. I'm going to night school. Once again, I'm only in college because I really want to make my parents happy. But I personally had no wants to be in school because I didn't have the confidence to learn. I didn't know what I wanted to learn. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But next thing you know, a couple years go by. I'm kind of floating in the state, and my mom's like, look, Dylan, you're about to be 21. You need to get out of my house. And she's like, so you need to figure out something. What are you going to do for work? Anything like that. So I thought about going the military route, but I have asthma. They didn't like that, and I did learn later I probably could have got around it, but it was somewhat a blessing in disguise. Shout out to all my veterans and active. Support and love you guys. But my father was like, yo, you should become a police officer. And I looked at him, to make it short, I looked at him, he looked at me, I laughed at him. And next thing I knew, like, you know, it was kind of that weird, I was like, yeah, right, like, I'm not doing that. I like you as a police officer, but I'm not really a big fan of the whole, you know, boys in blue. And next thing I knew, I was in uniform. And ended up being, and I kind of share that because there's a false stereotype around police where it's like this, you know, I feel like I'm the epitome of most stereotypes where I was picked on, but I never had this vengeance to get back at people. And then I also never wanted to be a police officer, and then I became one. So it's not like I hopped into the profession to get back at people, and to become like this big power, position of power or whatever. What I will say though is I got into the profession and it changed my life for the better. Well, it established structure, which God knows I needed that. But it gave me a taste of the real world. I had grown up pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I had two very hardworking parents who provided everything. I never really went without. And then a lot of the things that I got into, like the excessive partying and drinking and all the other, illicit things, were all, I did that to myself. I mean, that was a direct result of trauma from home. I did it to myself. But when I got into law enforcement, I got a real look at what real struggle looks like, and what real world issues look like. Even in the city that I work in, that isn't a dangerous city whatsoever, but I've experienced everything from homicide to violent sexual assault to many death cases. And the biggest one we deal with here is mental health cases, and suicide, a call for suicidal individuals who either are trying or have committed suicide. And I'll get into why that cuts deep for me personally. But the job, what it really did was, I just realized this whole time I'm looking at the screen and not the lens. So you're gonna see most of this video of me looking up. Damn it. Anyways, but what I realized is just how cold the real world can be. And I also didn't really know how to manage that trauma. So I was just seeing all these things that were unexplainable to me because it's not normal for the average person to see, especially like seeing, dead bodies, things like that on the job. And because I still, was a drinker, and kind of fell into that lifestyle still, I, not purposely, but I ended up using alcohol as a vice to solve my issues, or attempt to solve my issues. Like I'd work midnights, get off the shift, grab a 6-pack or grab some energy drinks and play video games for like 2 days straight. And that was kind of like in the moment, I didn't know that I was doing those things to try to cope with trauma. I just thought I was just doing them. Like I was like, oh, well, I got off work was hard, I'm gonna go enjoy myself. And that was my idea of enjoying myself. But while that started happening, the laundry started to pile up and my apartment started to look like a frat house, and like it kind of gross, and kind of lost my way. And a couple of years of that, with a reoccurring exposure to trauma from the job, I ended up becoming suicidal. And I held that in my heart for close to a year before I ever asked for help, because there's a big stigma around it in my profession. And I don't want this YouTube channel to be like some big, like to be only tailored to first responder, military, law enforcement. I want it to be for everybody, because I think there's more people that can relate to what I'm talking about that aren't necessarily in my position. So, I feel blessed for this, in the sense that when I started to have these thoughts, I immediately wanted to counter them, which I know that a lot of people don't have that want, and I believe that's a blessing of mine. I believe that's why I have a voice to help others and pull them out of that and change their life around, because I was able to change my life around. Now, do I still have my issues? Yes, 100%. And do I still have my demons? Yes, of course. But the lifestyle changes that I made 3 years ago and have been progressing towards have been monumental for me, and I want to be able to give that back. And as I get better at this YouTube thing, they'll become more structured. This is kind of just like a freestyle, kind of just going all out with it. But what I want to get at is that I could have caught this ahead of time if I would have known better. If I would have paid attention to my habits earlier on, I believe that I could have changed things around before it got that dark for me. Whether it was drinking less, whether it was playing less video games, and I mean like excessively, for hours and hours, and sometimes staying up for days at a time to play. My diet. I mean, there's so much research about your gut health being just as important as your mental health, like as in your brain. Probably better language for that is that there's a lot of research that shows that your gut is like your second. So, sorry, camera cut off. It's my luck. So I do believe that if I would have done a lot of these things earlier on, that I would have been able to prevent that. And if I can get ahead of somebody now who's listening to this, and maybe you're not dealing with those issues. I'm not saying this channel is just for people who have dealt with those ideologies. This is just really for anybody's general wellness. And to try to connect us as a community through mental health and through lifestyle changes and things like that. I think that alone can be extremely beneficial. Some of the habits you can put into place ahead of time. And ironically, a lot of the habits that you can put into play to better your life are exactly the same steps that people who are very successful take, regardless of the mental health issues. They kind of go hand in hand, which actually attracted me to taking these proactive steps in the first place. So I know I'm hitting on a lot of different topics right now, but I also, ever since I was little, I always wanted to have my own business. Like I wanted to have like my own little thing. I had a desk in my room that I didn't really do anything in, but I remember being a kid and I had a desk in my room, and I would just imagine like owning a big company. So, which is ironic, I got into law enforcement, but now that's all kind of coming full circle. But with that, those success habits that I was learning were parallel to the steps that I was advised to take to better my mental health, such as meditating, journaling, getting a good night's sleep, eating healthier, making healthier choices, being more sober, staying away from things like tobacco. I chewed tobacco for 7 years, getting away from cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes for 2 years. Which is crazy when people hear that. And how did I stop? Both were cold turkey. I mean, I think that's the big man upstairs who helped me with that. Both cold turkey. And I will be just completely transparent. In extreme moments of stress, I have gone back, but it has been quite a while, and it does not last more than a day or two. So, with that, I just want to be able to share some of the things that I was able to do, some of the things I was able to accomplish, to get myself out of the funk that I was in and to where I am today, which I can say now that I am, damn, I don't know why that long pause was there. I can say now that I'm a lot better off now than I was. Now I have a lot of health issues that are kind of irrelevant but relevant to my energy levels. I have hypothyroidism, I have low testosterone, blah, 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 blah. I'll get all into those differently. If you guys want to know about THT, if you ever heard of that before, testosterone hormone, TRT, sorry, testosterone replacement therapy, I can get into that as well. I just started on that to get my T levels back up to where they need to be, whatever. I know this is like me just like word vomiting on you guys. But the main source of this channel is a lifestyle channel. It's going to be steps in how you can improve your life, your day-to-day life. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy either. When you start to choose growth, life inevitably gets harder, but it gets more rewarding. I just kind of want to bring that in. You start to get rid of the short-term satisfaction in your life to make the sacrifices for long-term satisfaction. And I'm not perfect in this space. I'm not by any means, but it's understanding that concept and believing in that concept so that you can plan out your future to get to where you want to be. And the earlier age you learn this, the better. I'm 29 years old, so there are definitely things that I wish I would have, or a mindset that I would have had, wish I would have had at 21. But I am blessed to have siblings that I can pass that along to, so that when they need help or anything like that, I can try to pass down any knowledge that I have as they've seen me go through like this roller coaster of life. But yeah, I think I kind of touched on everything. It's kind of a short video, but let me know what you guys want to know about me. and I'll continue to put out information, like my daily habits, my daily routines, my workouts, my diets, medical things that I'm still doing wrong, things that I still struggle with, how I was able to overcome those suicidal ideologies, what kind of work it took, what books I read, all these things. I want to be able to push all that information out. So I can build a community. I don't think I know everything. I have a lot more to learn, and I want to learn a lot more, but I also want to build a community. So this is my first YouTube video, and I know it was kind of all over the place, but if you made it this long in it, you're a G. I do have a blog. I'll put that down in my comment section, and I also do have my Instagram, which is dl.ignacio. And then something that I didn't touch on at all, but I might go into that a little bit later, is I do have a nonprofit for suicide prevention for first responders and military. And I do have a podcast, and that's One Less. The Instagram for that is 1less_org. I'll put all that down in the bottom. But if you like this YouTube channel, if you kind of like this talk, I will make them more structured as I understand where this channel is headed. Like I said, I just promised myself today that I would hit the record button, and that's exactly what I did. So thank you guys if you stuck around, and have a good one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.